This is Family Time 127. We're talking about discipline and perseverance. This may be one of the most important topics we discuss because discipline is the key. Discipline will take you wherever you want to go in life. Discipline is the thing that will help you overcome any obstacle, that will help you reach any goal, that will help you change your life and become closer to the person you want to be. Those things require discipline. Jocko Willink, some of you know him. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's a writer. He hosts a popular podcast. He has a saying that discipline equals freedom. And I think that's true. We often look at discipline the wrong way. We think, I don't want my day to be totally structured. I don't want to have this real strict schedule. But if we're the ones setting the schedule, if we're building habits that improve our lives, that discipline becomes the most freeing thing there is because we feel better. We get the satisfaction of accomplishing goals, of moving closer to who we want to be, what we want to do with our lives. And that's never an easy road. There's always going to be challenges. But the discipline is the thing that lets us learn and grow through those challenges and get closer to where we want to be. And in order to build discipline into our lives, we have to accept that there are things that aren't our fault, but are our responsibility. You don't have control over the family you were born into, the socioeconomic level you were born into, the people that are around you, especially early in your life. You don't have total control over that. You don't have total control over your baseline abilities. But all of those things are your responsibility. What I mean by that is we have to take responsibility for the things we can control. We say it all the time at our school, control what you can control. So, if you've been dealt a bad hand, if you've had a difficult time at home, that's not your fault. And that's the first thing we have to be clear about. That's not your fault. But then you have to take responsibility, not responsibility to fix whatever the negative situation is, but to take responsibility for yourself, for the things you can control, and the things that you can do to create a better situation for yourself. And that takes discipline. It's the same thing in the classroom, in athletics, in any activity. We don't have control if maybe you struggle with reading. Just naturally. Slower reader, takes a little time to process. That's not your fault. And too often, we put that burden on ourselves. We let that become something that makes us feel bad about ourselves. It makes us feel inadequate. And sometimes in schools, we don't always help with that. Because sometimes, academically, often, we're rewarded for having a skill. We're rewarded if something comes easily to us, as opposed to being rewarded for how much growth we have made and how much work we have put in. Sometimes that's going to be the nature of things. Sometimes that's the nature of life. If we have certain skills, certain abilities, we have opportunities with that. It may be easier to get an A in a certain class for some people because they have a certain ability. If we struggle in that area, Again, we have to accept that's not my fault. But then we have to take responsibility for the actions necessary to make the grade, to complete the assignment, to accomplish whatever the goal is. That part is our responsibility. And I promise you, even if it doesn't seem like that right away, there is a reward in that. And often there's a much deeper reward. There's a much deeper reward in building a discipline, working through something, through some challenge, and then accomplishing our own version of success. And it doesn't need to look like anyone else's success. That's how we start to build discipline. Is we radically accept the things that we don't necessarily have control over, and then we radically accept the things we can control and the things we can take responsibility for. And that starts with us. Then we can start building little habits, little practices, and put those things into action. That's where perseverance comes in. Perseverance is the idea of toiling away despite difficulty. Even when we don't want to do something, we push through. That's a big part of discipline. They go hand in hand. But it's hard. Often it's easy for us to, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna start this new routine for doing my homework, for working out, whatever it is. And it's easy at the beginning when it's fresh and it's new and we want to take some control over things. But then eventually, and this happens in any long-term endeavor, there's going to be times where we don't feel like it, where it becomes difficult, we want to stop. That's where perseverance becomes so important. It's continuing to hammer along to delay immediate gratification. That's a hard thing to do in our world right now because we have so many things that give us a small shot of immediate gratification. That's how social media is designed. And social media is not evil. It's not a bad thing. But if we're constantly seeking these small little hits of dopamine, these small little hits of gratification, then it becomes harder sometimes to work for those bigger things that require discipline and perseverance. But the rewards are often much bigger. I think of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in A Psalm of Life. He says, to labor and to wait. That's such an important skill for us to build. The ability to just work and work, to form disciplines, to let discipline build on other disciplines, because that's how it works. When we build discipline in one area of our life, it lends itself to another. We build those disciplines and we wait, and we wait, and we keep toiling along. And eventually, even if we don't hit the final end point we think we're going to hit, if we don't reach the destination we originally had pictured for ourselves, we can look back and we can see the growth we've made. We can see the distance we've traveled from the starting point to where we are now. That requires perseverance. And we also have to recognize that we often only need one big break. We only really need things to click once. And it may take some of us longer than others to hit that point where it clicks. But it only takes once and then it's there. Then we have it. So what I want you to do this week is I want you to think of a time you've already had in your life where you've had to delay some immediate gratification, where you've had to give up what you want in the moment to set that aside for what you want long term, for something bigger. Because Once you do that in one area of your life, it's easier to transfer that to other areas of your life. You know you have that ability. And I want you to think about how you felt when you accomplished that long-term goal that required work and discipline and perseverance. Then, I want you to think about a new long-term goal. We're not even going to break it down into steps right now or into manageable pieces. I just want you to think of what's some other big dream, some other big goal that you have. Just start thinking about that. Because as we talk about these things, if you have that in the back of your mind, the big goal, where you want to be, and you're continually thinking about it, we'll find ways to create the disciplines that take us closer to that goal. Until next week, much love.